Hello, everybody. This is Dean Robinson, SummitCityNoise.com, and it's time to do the podcast. You know it is, so let's get on with it. Let's do it. Of course, a lot of people are obsessed with this Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton presidential race, and it is a big story. There's so much other stuff going on that the just over-focus just on this presidential race, it obscures so much. But I have to address some of this stuff, and it does help address many of these social ills that plague us as a society. So the big news now is this Access Hollywood video that leaked last Friday. You know, news dump day. Everybody knows now that Friday is the hot day for news. I mean, if you didn't know it before, now you know it. Because even guys like Pat Miller, WOWO-AM, Fort Wayne, Indiana, he's going to let you know that's when the mainstream media just dumps stuff out there. But he doesn't think he's the mainstream media. He doesn't think he is. He thinks he's an outsider. You know, these old guys, you know, guys like Donald Trump, a 70-year-old billionaire, you know, from New York, a casino boss. He loves casinos oh so much and beauty pageants. And, you know, somehow this guy's an outsider. He's an outsider. You know, all these bankruptcies. He knows the tax code better than anybody, he says, but he's an outsider. All these outsiders, but we're just getting played. We really are. But got to talk about this Access Hollywood videotape and really the audio on it that shocks everybody because it's Donald Trump just showing you the sexist that he is, showing you the sexism that he practices and has been doing for years, for decades. I mean, this guy's on the cover of Playboy. I mean, come on, people. This stuff that broke is just the tip of the iceberg, but now you can actually see the iceberg. You're crashing into it. Before you just heard stories about an iceberg. Now you see the tip of it because the Titanic has crashed into it and it's sinking. And I don't think Donald Trump is going to recover from the talk that he had on that bus with Billy Bush, who's related to the Bush family. You know, Access Hollywood. He's on the Today Show. Billy Bush? Well, Billy Bush is suspended from the Today Show. Didn't show up this morning. Nope. He's suspended because he was doing all this, what they call locker room talk about women on this bus, you know, doing this Access Hollywood interview while Donald Trump is hosting The Apprentice for NBC. And then he's going to go up here on Days of Our Lives, the NBC soap opera. You know, all this NBC stuff. Access Hollywood is NBC, you know. So he's just on the NBC lot, you know, going from one professional communications gig to the other on the lot of this communications empire, being interviewed, you know, by the in-house media news operation, news organ, but Donald Trump talking about groping women, how he can't control himself around them, how he needs these Tic Tacs. And then even Tic Tac, the makers of Tic Tac, they got to come out and say, we don't condone that. Just like the bowl full of Skittles, you know, going to be one of Trump's sons just talking about, well, that's terrorism. A bowl full of Skittles, you know, those are the Syrians, and then there's 3 terrorists in there. And so that's how we have to look at this Islamic terrorism. And then Skittles, the makers of Skittles, no, we don't condone that. But nonetheless, got to get back to this notion of these Access Hollywood tapes that just shows you what a sexist that Donald Trump is. And these tapes made back in 2005. And so Trump, he's 70 years old now. So back then, he would have been 59. So a 59-year-old man just showing you who he is. You got Melania Trump at home pregnant with Barron. You know, she's pregnant. He's out there talking about how he's trying to hit on all these women, just dogging them, and how he just gropes them and kisses them without their permission because he can't control himself. And so what you see with that is this big-time defense that he mounts and then all these people mount in terms of all this bad behavior. And so it's really a confession that, yes, I'm just terrible. I'm doing all this terrible stuff, but my defense is that other people are doing it. And so with Donald Trump, he's going to say, look, Bill Clinton has said worse stuff to me on the golf course. I'm like, wow. Then he's going to talk about Bill Clinton has done worse. You know, so it's like, well, you guys are golf buddies. You had the Clintons at your wedding to Melania. You guys are obviously friends, and obviously Bill Clinton feels comfortable saying worse stuff to you, Donald, and you guys just love it. But that's your defense. It's just as bad as they want to be. That's their defense. We're just as bad as we want to be, but we're all bad. We're all terrible. So why are you worried about me being terrible? And with these Republicans, what's so troubling is that they're always pushing this notion of religious morality in their politics. They want it in their legislation. They want it in their politicians when it's convenient. And when a guy like Trump just kind of falls short, well, then they're talking about all this forgiveness and redemption. And with Trump, they're always looking for him to change, just looking for this change. But he's showing you the whole time who he is. But everybody says, well, he's going to change. Ben Carson going to let you know there's two Donald Trumps. There's two of them, So I don't know what people are looking forward to, but you have this split personality apparently with Trump. And so that works perfectly with this split-minded personality of this Republican Party. All this moralizing, but then we're forgiving, except when it comes to Hillary Clinton because of what Bill Clinton did. And then what Bill Clinton did, that's Trump's defense. But he's also using what Bill Clinton did as ammunition against Hillary. And it's the ultimate in hypocrisy for these evangelical Christians who are backing Trump. It's the ultimate in hypocrisy because you're going to openly see Hillary Clinton. Well, yeah, your husband cheated on you. You know it. Everybody knows it. The world knows it. But you forgave this guy. You forgave him. My goodness, if that's not the essence of Christianity, this notion of acceptance and forgiveness, she has endured this junk from this guy, but she says, look, I made this oath. This marriage stuff, I'm taking it very seriously. Hillary Clinton enduring this junk, but that's used against her. Donald Trump on his third marriage. Third. He's using Bill Clinton's infidelities against Hillary Clinton, but he's golf buddies with Bill Clinton. They're comfortable enough to use all this locker room talk, but I don't call it locker room talk because they're not athletes and they're not in a locker room just doing this stuff on the golf course and on the NBC lot in the midst of interviews, openly letting you know who they are to the world, Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. But Donald Trump uses that as ammunition against Hillary, who has to endure this stuff in actually exhibiting the forgiveness that is supposed to be Christian. But with these right-wing Republican evangelical Christians, they turn it on and off whenever they want. Now, I've got to get to some of these quotes here, people. Got to get to some of these quotes because I'm going to be watching, the ABC This Week, their morning show. And so, we have the debate, the second presidential debate Sunday night. But Sunday morning, everybody reacting to this Trump, locker room tape. But it's not a locker room tape. It's the Trump sexual predator tape. It's the Donald Trump sexual predator confession. That's what it is. And so all these Republicans dealing with the fallout. It's going to be Senator Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire. On Monday of last week, this woman talking about Donald Trump is a role model. Well, by Friday, this Access Hollywood sexual predator confession from Donald Trump breaks. And so she's got to backtrack from that to the point where Saturday, this woman says, I am not voting for Donald Trump. So on Monday, Donald Trump is a role model. By Saturday, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm going to pencil in Mike Pence. But nonetheless, Sunday on ABC This Week, you're going to have these Republican strategists, and they give these quotes to me that are just mind-blowing, but it's stuff that I've already known, and it should be openly known to everyone, but it shows you just the reality of how these people have to deal with this information and spin it, and then sometimes there's no spin. So you've got, ABC This Week host George Stephanopoulos. So he's talking to Mary Matlin, the Republican strategist. Well, she's married to Carville, the Democrat strategist. Those guys were big in, the 90s with this kind of Laurel and Hardy act, husband and wife, Republican strategist, Democrat strategist. But Mary Madeline, Republican strategist. And then you got Alex Castellanos, a Republican strategist. And I'm a fan of this guy. He cracks me up. He knows politics so well, and he's slick and clean and always has the best spray tan, hair, and makeup, all of it. Alex Castellanos. So George Stephanopoulos, he is addressing these Republican strategists. So he's talking directly to Mary Madeline. He says, you're talking about yourself as a conservative here. Can you explain how conservatives came to the point of supporting Donald Trump when he started this campaign? Not really a conservative. So Mary Madeline says, and he's ending the campaign, not really a conservative, and he's not a Republican either. But you have to go to war with the troops that you have. It's like if your offense sucks, then you have to play the defense. And right now, there is no good advancing the conservative ball. So we have to stop the advance of progressives. And Republicans are begging for a reason to justify their vote for him because they do not want any more progressive encroachment in their lives. And so your offense sucks, you know? So Donald Trump being able to just go forward, that sucks. As a quarterback, he's the worst. So we have to play the defense because there is no good advancing the conservative ball. But the striking part is Donald Trump is ending the campaign not really conservative, and he's not a Republican either. Not really conservative, and he's not a Republican. Now, in Fort Wayne, you're going to have Pat Miller, WOWO-AM, that's the Republican right-wing radio that we get here in town. And so he's pushing all this right-wing information, all this spin. This mug just has to vote for Trump. He has to vote for him. It's just his duty. But he says, I was a Ted Cruz guy. I worked for him, tried to get him elected. So he actually says that on the air. September 14th, 2016, I worked for him. Pat Miller on WOWO News Talk, talking about Ted Cruz. I worked for him, tried to get him elected, but it was a failure. You know, Glenn Beck's going to say he's just sent by God, sent from God to do Moses' work. Ted Cruz. But Pat Miller, WOWO-AM, the Pat Miller program, loving Ted Cruz, I worked for him, but that was a failure. So now I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Donald Trump. But it's going to be a caller into the Pat Miller program saying, look, Donald Trump is not a Republican. He's an independent running as a Republican. And there's Pat Miller agreeing with this caller, saying, yes, you're absolutely right. He is a Republican in name only. That makes him a RINO. So Pat Miller openly endorsing a RINO, along with Sean Hannity on Fox News, openly endorsing a Republican in name only candidate, Donald Trump. And then it'll be Pat Miller who will openly let you know Donald Trump is not conservative. He's not conservative. He's not a conservative. He's not a Republican, but I'm voting for him because never Hillary. And so Pat Miller, he let us know that months ago, that Donald Trump is not a conservative, he's not a Republican, but we're going to support him. Mary Madeline, Republican strategist. Donald Trump is not really a conservative, and he's not a Republican either. So Alex Castellanos, he follows that up. He says, our party, the Republican Party, was so weak and so visionless that we inspired no one. We had 16 of our alleged best and brightest, and we stood for nothing. And Donald Trump, an outsider, came in and said, these guys are all the same. Basically, no difference between them and Democrats. And you know, voters, Republicans concluded they're right. And now that same weak nothing of a Republican Party is going to replace the guy that beat them. So that's Alex Castellanos saying, wow, we had our 16 of our alleged best and brightest and stood for nothing. That's the Republican Party. He's letting you know our party was so weak and so visionless that we inspired no one. So we ended up with a guy who's not really a conservative, and he's not a Republican either, defending his sexist behavior, his groping women, all this stuff, no control. His defense, Donald Trump's defense, is Bill Clinton is worse than I am. Bill Clinton doing the same stuff as I do, and we laugh about this stuff on the golf course. So this notion of locker room talk, you real athletes out here, you football players and basketball players, real athletes, mugs that have to sweat it out, you know, you don't have a car that you can drive around on a course, you know, so you can play your game. You should be insulted by this notion of locker room talk between guys like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, talking about their sexual conquest of women who don't want their advances, just sexual predators on a golf course talking about that. So it's not locker room talk. It's golf course talk. It's country club talk. So that's what we should call it, country club talk. And that's what Donald Trump is engaged in, country club talk, not locker room talk. So make that your talking point. It's country club talk, because that's how those kind of guys talk about just the little people out here that they just want to just stomp on. But we're not little people. No, we're not. And women, you're not little. Just been stomped on by creeps like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, his defense is, we got a creep named Bill Clinton that I'm creeping around with at the country club, laughing about being a sexual predator. And so that's what we're getting out here. Now, what I'll find is with, me just going on about Trump, I can go on more and more about Trump. I'm really baffled by this notion of the state attorney general of New York. I'm going to go to the Washington Post, October 3rd. State Attorney General orders Trump Foundation to cease raising money in New York. So the Trump Foundation, they have to stop raising money. They have to cease operations in New York. It's October 3rd. The Washington Post, putting out this story. And so when you look at it, it's going to be this notice that Eric Schneiderman, the state attorney general of New York, well, it's on September 30th, a Friday, news dump day. It's on Friday. He sends this message to Trump saying, hey, dude, we're investigating you. We've been investigating you, and your foundation has to stop, has to cease. So Washington Post, October 3rd. Eric Schneiderman's office is investigating Mr. Trump's foundation to determine if it is in compliance with state laws, including how it spends its money and courts donations, okay? So they want to know, how are you spending your money and how are you courting donations? How are you getting them? How are you attracting them? The Attorney General's office was particularly interested in a fundraiser held by Mr. Trump this year to benefit veterans in lieu of attending a Republican primary debate. The event raised $5.6 million, including some money from wealthy donors. And the Trump Foundation said $1.6 million had come from online donations. The foundation did not break down the sources by state. Okay, now people, this is October 3rd. The New York State Attorney says the Trump Foundation has to shut down. I would think this would be much bigger news, but at the vice presidential debate that happened after this story's been breaking, after this particular October 3rd report, well, it's the Tuesday after this break. So October 3rd is a Monday. On Tuesday, the vice presidential debate, you have Tim Kaine talking about the Trump Foundation, does not mention that the New York State Attorney shut them down. Said they have 15 days to get their records right, to get into compliance with the law, or they will be considered an ongoing fraud on the state of New York. But October 4th, no mention of this during the VP debate. Last night's debate, this presidential debate, no mention of the New York State Attorney shutting down the Trump Foundation. I find that odd. And so let me go back to this Washington Post story, October 3rd, 2016. Over the years, Mr. Trump has donated $5.4 million to his charity, according to the organization's tax filings. But the last of those contributions was in 2008, and in recent years, the foundation's coffers have been filled by outside donors, including organizations and people in New York. The foundation's most recently available filing was for 2014. From 2009 to 2014, the foundation raised $4.36 million. $4.36 million, with $2.5 million from New Yorkers, records show. Okay? State rules require nonprofits raising more than $25,000 a year in New York to register and file audited financial statements and annual financial reports to the Attorney General's Charities Bureau. Well, Donald Trump hasn't been doing that. From 2009 to 2014, the Trump Foundation has raised more than $25,000 a year. They are not registered with New York. They're not filing these audited financial statements. They haven't been doing it. From 2009 to 2014. So Mr. Schneiderman's office, Eric Schneiderman, the state attorney general in New York, his office provided notice to Mr. Trump's foundation that it must provide those financial documents within 15 days. Okay, so let's just go 15 days from October 3rd. Okay, so by October 18th, there's going to be fallout from this October 18th. And apparently that's what everybody in the media is waiting for. Because if the New York Times and the Washington Post are reporting this, and it's not being mentioned at the VP debate or the second presidential debate, well, we know something's going to happen by the 18th of October, maybe before that, because this notice is sent to Trump on September 30th. He has 15 days to comply, but I don't know when Trump received that letter. I don't know when he received it. By October 3rd, Monday, October 3rd, Eric Schneiderman promoting this, letting people know, hey, I sent this letter out Friday. He's got 15 days to provide these financial documents. 15 days. The Trump Foundation also must file any delinquent reports for the past years within that time frame. So 15 days to file any delinquent reports. The failure immediately to discontinue solicitation and to file information and reports with the Charities Bureau shall be deemed a fraud upon the people of the state of New York. Okay? So, people, if Donald Trump, the Trump Foundation, if they do not get all this paperwork filed and all these old reports, if they don't get that stuff filed by, October 18th at the latest, October 18th, if they don't get that stuff filed by then, the Trump Foundation shall be deemed a fraud upon the people of the state of New York. Yet, you got to hear this from this podcast. You're not hearing it from WOWO-AM. You're not hearing it from Wayne TV. You're not hearing it from the Journal-Gazette or reading it there. None of it. But this is out there, and so now you know. And now for me, I got my own thing going on here in Fort Wayne. I do. I shouldn't be caught up with all this national stuff all the time. I got to talk about this local stuff. And so, I've been promoting this conversation interview between me and Ryan Recker, the program director over at WOWO. Now, this guy used to be news director. Now, I think almost everybody's a news director because Kayla Blakesley, who used to be a WOWO reporter before she left to go work for the Ohio Department of Transportation. So she leaves WOWO. Kayla Blakesley goes to Ohio to work for the Ohio Department of Transportation. But now she's back in Fort Wayne, Indiana, working at WOWO as a reporter and the morning news director, And the other day I'm listening to the Pat Miller program, and he says, well, Darren Wright, he's my news director. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And, well, I know Ryan Recker used to be news director, but now he's program director. But this guy going to invite me out to this coffee with a cop event, over at Jefferson Point. I talked about it on the last podcast. Had the conversation there, and then did the YouTube video. So you people who listen to this should be familiar with that. So I don't have to go into the content. But it's a fascinating conversation between me and Ryan Recker, about a lot of things, but it's really about this institutional racism that Ryan Recker says does not exist. But he says sometimes these individual acts of racism or discrimination happen, but that's not these individuals following what the collective wants to do. It's just them acting independently. But whenever that happens, these instances of racism, well, it's dealt with properly 100% of the time. And so that's Ryan Recker. Well, I don't agree with that. And then when I talk about institutional racism at Wells Fargo that they admitted to, and I brought up specific cases in Baltimore, Baltimore, Maryland, and specific cases in Memphis, Tennessee, talking about Wells Fargo loan originators calling black people mud people, getting them in ghetto loans, which is, the subprime loans, these junk loans where these black people actually, they actually qualified for better loans. But Wells Fargo systematically discriminating against these black people, even using churches to do that. And so when I talked to Ryan Recker about that, give him these mainstream sources for this stuff that's been documented for years. Well, Ryan doesn't know about any of that. He doesn't know. So I say, well, you haven't looked into it? He says, well, yes, I have looked into it. And what I find is that these banking practices are shady. These loan practices, they're shady to begin with. A lot of shady stuff going on in these banks. And with regard to institutional racism going on in there, my thought would be, is it going on in there? Probable. It's probable. But when I give him, well, here's the details, he has no idea about the details, but he says he looked into it, you know? But he can only tell you that institutional racism at the banks is probable because they're shady. So he'll tell you that sort of broad brush, but there's nothing to back that up because Ryan Recker, program director, news director, whatever director at WOWO-AM, my goodness, people, you can see the lack of direction. And so you can see why their news product is so bad. It's so terrible and so one-sided towards this conservative, capitalist, Christian male point of view. Oh, people, that's my cowboy music, so you know I gotta go. I gotta go. So when I see how this information is disseminated out here, well, I realize there's always these twists on information, and these mugs will also spin it. So if you want to make somebody look bad, you twist it. You twist information. If you want to make somebody look good, you spin it. But it's the same manipulation of information. And so I can see why these right-wing Republican Christians, these evangelicals, they're still doubling down on their support of Trump, even after these tapes come out of him being a sexual predator. Their defense is Bill Clinton, the Democrat, is just as bad. That's our defense. That's our defense. Nobody's perfect except Hillary Clinton. She hates women because she actually stuck with her marriage vows. And so it's completely crazy. It's upside down. But I'm not blindsided by it because when I deal with guys like Ryan Recker over at WOWO pumping Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Mark Levin, coast to coast overnight, and then Pat Miller, the white guy in Fort Wayne, pumping all this conservative, capitalist, Christian nonsense. It's confusing to a lot of people, but not me, because when I encounter guys like Ryan Recker, who's supposed to be running the newsroom, he's completely clueless. He's not paying attention, and he just thinks that WOWO's just being fair with all this stuff, but they're not. And when you listen to that interview between me and Ryan, well, you can see, Ryan is not qualified to even have a conversation with Dean Robinson. Now, I got to talk about some of this other stuff because, like in Fort Wayne, you have ZX Gun, and they have these TV commercials. Used to be ZX Gun and ZX Vape, because they love vaping and they love guns, And so ZX Guns throwing a lot of advertising around here. Well, I'm going to go to WOWO, Caleb Blakesley, September 28, 2016, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Police are searching for suspects who are accused of driving into ZX Gun and stealing firearms. A store employee said a vehicle drove through a window at ZX Gun on West Coliseum Boulevard near Sherman Boulevard between about 5 a.m. Wednesday. Now, people, it says at about 5 a.m. Wednesday. Now, that's hilarious. The suspects gained access to the store and took off with an undisclosed amount of firearms. So, Caleb Blakesley, it's poorly written, and you probably just got it from the cops, and you couldn't even be the copy and paste because it's at about 5 a.m. Wednesday. But basically, these mugs backed, an SUV or a Jeep into the window of one of these retail outlets of ZX Gun on West Coliseum. So they just back a truck into the window, break the window, and they take off with all these weapons. And so ZX Gun on Facebook says, "Share, please. Please share this. Despite what has been stated in various media, the burglary of our Fort Wayne location early this morning, while the store was closed and unoccupied, resulted in the loss of no ammunition and less than 20 firearms, mostly not of the AR type." Now that's hilarious because in all these media reports, there was no mention of ammunition at all. They were just talking about there are some guns stolen, and some of these guns were the AR type. But it's going to be ZX Gun letting you know less than 20 firearms were taken, less than 20, so that means 19. And mostly not of the AR type. So if there's 19 guns stolen and mostly not of the AR type, then that's probably 9 of them are these AR. Now, people, here's the real news item here. Here's the new news item from ZX Gun Facebook. The ideal gun store would be built like a World War II bunker, but urban retail spaces simply are not constructed like that. ZX Gun letting you know that gun stores should not be in strip malls because they need to be set up like bunkers because you're talking about an armory protected by a sheet of glass. And so some enterprising legislator is going to realize, wow, we need a new law to restrict these gun sales from strip malls. Gun stores like Keith Bussey's Freedom Firearms, they're going to love this because they can afford to outfit themselves like a World War II bunker because Keith Bussey is the founder of Steel Dynamics, all the free steel he can get. But I got to go. I'm Dean Robinson, SummitCityNoise.com. I'll talk to you soon.